Hi there guys, it's Joel here from Aussie Chart Trends. Today's market update is for February the 6th, 2013. Before we check out the S&p 500 and the Asx200, I just need to remind you that the website and this video are for educational purposes only. Nothing to say that the site from this video is intended to be used as any form of investment advice. I'm not a licensed professional. You need to make your own decisions regarding your investments. I'm just here to help anyone searching for a practical direction in today's markets. So let's take a look at the S&p 500 firstly. Looking at the S&P here on a 10-minute chart, we have been watching this rising red line. Now, in yesterday's video, I was discussing that we had clearly broken down from this rising channel line. Now, instead of the S&P 500 back testing this line in yesterday's trade before heading back down, the S&P 500 gapped on up to around that 1504 area and then continued to rally on up fairly strongly. So guys, where do we go from this point on? Well, I'll be straightforward with you. If we have a look on a 30-minute chart, looking since the start of the year, we have been within this rising channel. So guys, I think that the S&P 500 potentially may want to just come up to tackle this green line. Now that would be getting close to our target of our large inverted head and shoulders pattern. If we just take a look there on the hourly chart, we've got our left shoulder here, our head, and our right shoulder. So guys, the target from that pattern is roughly that 1525 area. And the S&P 500 may just want to get on up to that minimum expected target before coming back down to take out that red line. So that red line again is this bottom red line here. And we've just got to wait and be patient with the S&P 500 at this stage. So guys, yesterday's call was clearly wrong. I did not think that we would get back into this pattern. So potentially a tag up on that 1525 area or a tag up on this green line should be strong enough to send the markets back down. So what is this green line? Well, let's take a look on a 3-day chart. That green line is the midpoint to this rising wedge pattern. It'll be interesting to see if the S&P 500 can find resistance on that green line there, and you think it would because for some time this green line has been technically significant, and we just need to be patient, as I said before, and just keep our eye on this bottom rising line. Okay, so let's take a look now at the Asx200. Okay, looking on the hourly chart here of the Asx200, in yesterday's video we were discussing that this may be potentially a neckline to a head and shoulders top, where we would have our left shoulder here, our head, and then a right shoulder forming. So guys, the market has not taken out the highs that we've seen over here yet, and it's still a possibility that we could come down to take out this blue line. But guys, if we see the markets rally up over the last peak that we've seen here, expect then that we'll probably most likely head on up to tag up on this overhead resistance level around that 4,980 level. Now that resistance level is drawn over the peak that we've seen there in April of 2011. So guys, the fact that the market is approaching this area, we do have to keep an open mind that we may want to just come up to tag on this area before resisting back down. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens in tomorrow's trade. But one thing I will say is both in the Asx200 and the S&P, we've seen that the market has rallied on up, and now we're starting to curl over. And when you see the market starting to round over, that's when you start to have to be a bit alert as to what's going to happen in the overall markets. So guys, that pretty much wraps up today's market update. Very, very interesting to see what happens in the next week of trade with both the S&P and the Asx200 to see whether we'll come down and take out some support levels that we've been watching. Alright, I'll see you guys tomorrow with another market update.